The 2026 FIFA World Cup had barely started. It was day one, the second match of the entire tournament. South Korea versus Czechia, Estadio Akron, Guadalajara, Mexico. And the images coming out of that stadium told a story that FIFA did not want the world to see. Row after row of vacant seats. Not in the upper tier, not in the nosebleeds. Right there, pitch side, center of the East Stand, VIP sections. Empty. FIFA's official statement said the stadium was nearly sold out. 44,985 tickets scanned, out of a 45,664 seat capacity. According to FIFA, that match was 98% full. You are looking at what 98% full looks like. And that contradiction between what FIFA said and what the entire world could see with its own eyes is not a minor detail. It is a window into something much larger, a system built on controlling the narrative, on managing perception, on extracting maximum profit and hoping no one looks too closely. This video is about what happens when they do look closely. To understand the empty seats at Estadio Akron, you have to go back to the promise FIFA made to the world. In 2018, when FIFA voted to award the 2026 World Cup to the United States, Canada, and Mexico, the pitch was simple. $14 billion in projected revenue, the most profitable World Cup in history. 48 teams, more nations than ever before, a tournament for the entire world. Carlos Cordero, then president of the U.S. Soccer Federation, stood before 200 journalists in Brussels and described what 2026 would be. He said it would be, and this is a direct quote, the most successful and profitable FIFA World Cup ever. Profitable. For FIFA. That word matters. We will come back to it. FIFA president Gianni Infantino added his own promise. He said the process would be transparent and beyond reproach. He said fans would be welcomed. He said the world would come to North America. He said this was a celebration of global football. And the world believed it. Fans from Morocco, from Ghana, from South Korea, from Iran, they qualified their national teams. They followed every match of the qualification campaign. They saved money. They applied for visas. They bought tickets. They planned for years. This was supposed to be the biggest party football had ever thrown. And then the doors started closing. June 12, 2026, The Athletic's Jacob Whitehead is watching the South Korea versus Czechia match from inside Estadio Akron. He writes there appeared to be thousands of unoccupied seats. Thousands, not a few, not a section. Thousands of seats, empty in a stadium FIFA has officially declared nearly full. This is not the largest venue in the tournament. It is actually the second smallest. This is not a 90,000-seat NFL stadium that you need a miracle to fill. This is a 45,000-seat arena, and it could not be filled on day one of the biggest sporting event on earth. So the question every journalist immediately asked was why? Why are there thousands of empty seats at the World Cup? The answer was sitting right there on the ticketing page. Lower bowl seats at Estadio Akron for that match, $500. Upper tier sideline seats, $400. $500 lower bowl, $400 upper tier for a group stage match. Not a final, not a semifinal, not even a round of 16, a group stage match between South Korea and Czechia in the first week of the tournament, $500. NBC Sports ran the numbers. The average price of a single hotel room near the venues had surpassed levels that made attending this tournament for most of the world not a financial decision. It was a fantasy. The opening match that same day, Mexico versus South Africa at the Estadio Azteca, was packed. 87,000 seats, full, roaring, because it was Mexico playing at home against a nation close enough, familiar enough, affordable enough for fans to attend. But the moment the match moved to a stadium without a local crowd driving demand, the seats sat empty, and FIFA had no answer. This did not happen by accident. The empty seats at Estadio Akron are the direct, documented, predictable result of a ticketing strategy that FIFA chose, and that multiple governments, fan organizations, and legal authorities warned them about months before a single ball was kicked. Let's go through the timeline. October 2025. FIFA opens general ticket sales. It announces dynamic pricing, a system where ticket costs fluctuate based on demand, the same model used by airlines and hotels. FIFA had promised group stage tickets starting at $60. $60. That was the headline. That was what went out to fans around the world. But when general sale opened, that $60 ticket was essentially gone. The actual prices fans encountered ranged from $140 for the cheapest group stage seats to $8,680 for the final. From $140 to $8,680. The fan group Football Supporters Europe called it a monumental betrayal. They filed an 18-page formal complaint with the European Commission in Brussels. Their accusation: FIFA had engaged in bait advertising, which under European Union consumer law is illegal. FIFA holds a monopoly over ticket sales for the 2026 World Cup, the complaint read, and used that power to impose conditions on fans that would never be acceptable in a competitive market. December 2025, facing the backlash, FIFA announced a more affordable batch of $60 tickets, one allocation per match across all 104 games. Fan groups immediately reported that those tickets disappeared before general sale even began. The $60 ticket became a marketing line that most fans never had access to. Between October 2025 and April 2026, FIFA raised game ticket prices for almost every match in the tournament by an average of 34%. 34% after fans had already planned trips, after hotels had been booked, after flights had been purchased. The prices moved in one direction only: up. If prices only ever go up regardless of demand, that is not dynamic pricing. That is extraction. April 2026, the Attorneys General of New York and New Jersey, two of the host states, announced formal investigations into FIFA's pricing practices. Their allegation: FIFA was artificially inflating prices. Then the Attorney General of Texas launched a similar investigation, triggered by consumer complaints about tickets that had been changed in location after purchase. When the Attorney General of Texas, one of the most politically connected legal figures in the United States, finds space to launch an investigation into your organization's business practices, you are operating at a level of consumer exploitation that is difficult to defend. FIFA's response? Gianni Infantino stood before reporters and insisted that every World Cup match was sold out. Every single match. This is what sold out looks like. Let's look at the numbers directly. To attend one game in each of the 8 rounds of this World Cup, from the group stage through to the final, the minimum cost for a single person is $5,225. That is not including flights, not including hotels, not including food, transport, or merchandise. Just the tickets. $5,000. Compare that to the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. To attend 7 matches in Qatar at equivalent stages of the tournament would have cost at minimum $1,466. The cost has increased by more than 3.5 times in 4 years. The final at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey on July 19th, the cheapest available ticket, $4,185. The cheapest ticket for the 2022 World Cup final in Qatar, $560. The 2022 final ticket costs more than 7 times what the 2022 final cost. 7 times. And when you price a tournament at that level, when you take a sport that has always been defined by its accessibility, its universality, its identity as a game for everyone, this is what happens. The seats sit empty. Not because fans don't want to be there, because the institution that runs the sport decided that the seat was worth more than the fan. FIFA had seen this before. Less than 12 months before the World Cup kicked off, FIFA staged a warm-up event in the United States, the 2025 FIFA World Club Cup. 32 teams, some of the most famous clubs on the planet, Real Madrid, Manchester City, Botafogo, Paris Saint-Germain, and a warning that the entire football world could see if it chose to look.
An evening match between Ulsan HD and Mamelodi Sunderland drew 3,412 fans to Orlando's Inter.co Stadium, a stadium with a capacity of 25,000. 3,000 fans. A Chelsea vs. LAFC match drew 22,000 fans inside Atlanta's Mercedes-Benz Stadium, a 71,000-seat arena. 22,000 people in a 71,000-seat stadium? Reporters described them as being swallowed up by the venue. The average attendance across the Club World Cup was 34,000 for a competition featuring the best club teams on the planet. FIFA saw all of this. FIFA had the data. And FIFA made a decision not to lower prices, not to fix the model, to continue exactly as planned, and to raise prices by 34% in the 6 months before the tournament began. Because this World Cup was never really about the fans, it was about the number at the bottom of the report setting. This is not the first time FIFA has faced empty seats, but it has always been the first time FIFA has admitted it was their fault. In 2010, during the South Africa World Cup, rows of empty seats appeared during group stage matches, including during the host nation's final group game. FIFA launched a probe. They blamed corporate ticket holders. They blamed transportation issues. They blamed overseas fans for not showing up. Not the prices. Never the prices. In 2018 in Russia, the official attendance for the Egypt vs. Uruguay match was 27,015. The stadium's capacity, 33,000. FIFA's statement at the time, they were investigating factors including no-shows on match day. In 2022, despite Qatar spending an estimated $220 billion preparing for the tournament, more than any sporting event in human history, multiple group stage matches featured clearly visible blocks of empty seats. FIFA called it the best World Cup ever. Infantino said it showed football's unique cohesive power. POWs. Each time, the explanation is the same. No-shows, corporate holders, transportation problems, bad timing. Never, we priced ordinary fans out of their own sport. 2026 is simply the clearest version of that story yet, because this time, the cameras caught it in real time, on day one, before FIFA could shape the narrative, before Infantino could stand the torn and call it the best World Cup ever. The images were already out. Consider who this tournament was built for. The 2026 World Cup expanded to 48 teams, specifically to include more nations from Africa, Asia, and the Americas. Teams from Ghana, Senegal, Morocco, Iran, Haiti, nations that had never qualified before or had rarely qualified, earned their place at this tournament. Their players trained for years. Their fans followed every qualifier. And then the following happened. Out of 147 Ghanaian fans who applied for World Cup visas, 147 were rejected. Fans from Iran, Morocco, Senegal, Côte d'Ivoire, qualifying nations, faced a bureaucratic process so restrictive that attending became a lottery rather than a right. The fans who did make it through the visa system found ticket prices that required months of savings for a single game. And the fans who bought tickets at standard prices, many of them in the VIP and corporate allocations, simply did not show up. Because to them, a $500 seat at a group stage football match is not an experience. It is a hospitality package, an asset, something you might not use if a better offer comes along. The center of the East Stand, pitch side VIP section, empty. Not because of transportation problems, not because of no-shows among ordinary fans, because FIFA sold those seats to a class of buyer for whom attendance at a football match is optional. And in doing so, FIFA took those seats away from the fans for whom attendance at a World Cup would have been the most important day of their lives. That is not an administrative error. That is a choice, and the consequences are now being discussed in the offices of attorneys general across 3 American states, in the chambers of the European Commission, and in the living rooms of fans around the world who are watching a World Cup on television they could not afford to attend. FIFA will release a statement. They will cite official attendance figures. They will talk about tickets scanned. They will distinguish between visual assessments and what they consider verified data. Gianni Infantino will, at some point, stand at a podium and use the word historic. The matches will continue. The revenue will flow. The final at MetLife Stadium will be full because the final always is. And in 4 years, FIFA will bid out the next World Cup. Governments will compete to host it. The promises will be made again. But what happened on day 1 of the 2026 World Cup in Guadalajara is now a permanent part of the record. A stadium that FIFA declared nearly sold out. Thousands of empty seats visible to every camera in the building. Tickets priced at $500 for a group stage match. 34% price increases in the 6 months before the tournament. 3 state attorneys general investigating the same organization. An 18-page complaint with the European Commission. And a governing body whose only response was, "Trust our numbers." There is one question worth sitting with at the end of all of this. If FIFA can raise ticket prices by 34% in 6 months, if it can declare a match sold out while thousands of seats sit visibly empty, if it can watch its own warm-up event drop 3,000 fans to a 25,000-seat stadium and still change nothing, then who exactly is the world's most popular sport being run for? And is anyone in a position to stop it?